What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Jacked Ramsays Pregame Show. Danny Marang, Brandon Sprague, Blazers getting ready to take on the Boston Celtics, the team that beat the ever-living crap out of them back on Brandon Sprague's birthday. Woo. Blazers gave up a season-high 145. 145. That's a big number. They could have easily put up 150. This is Game 5 of a 6-game trip. The Blazers will be without Norman Powell, Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum is obviously back. Cody Zeller is not. Nasir Little is currently giving it a go. He will be a last-second addition or subtraction. We talked about that after he got injured, and we talked about that in the live show yesterday. He's got a bit of a knock. He had a little bit of swelling. It doesn't sound like it's going to be anything that's going to keep him out for any extended period, but he's got to make sure he's good to go. So there's no reason to risk it for the biscuit, so to speak.
No, that's good news. I mean, I don't want to see him play through a bad injury or anything to just push it. So the fact that he could have sat out, but he feels good enough to go, it's great. It's another night to watch young guys play basketball.
Yeah, the Blazers will be without Norman Powell, which good and bad in the sense of it doesn't complicate things further. Nasir Little has played well enough if he does go tonight that he deserves a spot. And you cannot take Anthony Simons out of the starting lineup right now, Brandon. That is a non-starter.
No, I mean, we've...
Got him. No, nothing.
He's such a goddamn dad. I don't know if it was the live show yesterday. I don't know if it was one of our postings. We talked about that, right? It's like, what would you do? And
it gets weird real quick.
Well, it does, but it doesn't. You ran a 3-guard lineup with Dame. Just run the 3-guard lineup with Ant, or think about what you want to do and how you're going forward with what your transactions will be. You just can't take him out. I mean, the kid's played his way into the starting role. He's done nothing to warrant putting him back on the bench. It's very important for them to develop that skill set and allow him to gain more confidence and, feel more like, hey, I deserve to be here. So you can't once you open that Pandora's box, you can't close it. I don't really care how they go about doing it. I don't care about hurt feelings. If you went 3-guard before Ant emerged, go 3-guard lineup with Ant. If that means more losses, then that's okay too, because the team's trying to collect those. So don't sit him.
Yeah, real quick, I know some people, the first thing they say when they come in and somebody's got, out for personal reasons, it's not because they're getting traded. I will say that. Norman Powell is not out because he's getting traded. He might end up being traded, but that is not the reason he is not with the team right now. The same thing with, obviously, Ant a couple days ago. Guys have real lives and things going on outside of basketball that are bigger than basketball. So that's just kind of is what it is, and that's kind of where we're going to be. And everybody keeps asking about the intro song that I've been playing now for God knows how long. Number one, it doesn't say "Go Biden." There's the lyrics that are in there. I don't know why people somebody said that once and they kept repeating it, and it's somehow got traction in the chat. It's kind of weird.
It sounds like the song is saying "Go Biden."
Yeah.
What song is it?
It's a song that I have rights for. I have an arts list rights, so yeah. I've got probably access to 10,000 songs. And I've probably got about 50 or 60 downloaded. And when I put this one in there, everybody loved it. And I was like, all right, cool. We're going to leave that one in the rotation. And that'll kind of be the, it's just, I don't know. It is what it is. But I'll put it in there. It's like Sunny Fruit or something like that. Is the name. I've put it in there before.
Not everything is political.
Yeah, definitely not. Especially not me when I'm doing basketball. That's for
yes,
bleeping sure.
Right.
That's the last thing I want to dive into.
I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, exactly. But as we head into this game tonight for the Celtics, I got their updated injury report right here. For the Celtics, Aaron Nesmith and Marcus Smart are out. Obviously, PJ Dozier and Bol Bol are both out for surgery reasons. There we go. What is
Smart out for?
He's returned to competition. Nasir Little is available, ladies and gentlemen. Nas will give it a go. So, there you go. Good times.
Yes.
We talked about this in the pre and the post game against Miami. I was frustrated that he unfortunately picked up a knock because he did not get the opportunity to go against Jimmy Butler, and then Jimmy Butler also got tossed. I don't expect Jaylen Brown or Jayson Tatum to get tossed.
No.
But this is a good opportunity for Nasir Little to stack up. That's one of the things I'm looking forward to. And with that, we'll use that as a transition for what to watch for tonight. Portland Trailblazers against your Boston Celtics. Brandon, the Boston Celtics have two players in the Jays, Jaylen Tatum, Jayson Tatum. I call him Jaylen Tatum. Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They are both very difficult to cover for Portland, and they don't have a ton of options. Nasir Little will get that primary assignment. Don't know if it's going to be on Jaylen or if it's going to be on Jayson, but I have a reeling suspicion he's going to see a ton of time on both of them.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I know they waxed Portland when they played in December. Boston has not had a very good season. It's been very up, very down. Most Boston fan will probably tell you it's been very down. But I think watching a Jaylen Brown, watching a Jayson Tatum with Anthony Simons now in a starting lineup role, just loose, being able to shoot all these shots, going on the road with zero worries. Like, there is no negative for Portland tonight. It is a win-win situation because you either pull an upset, and that means Ant probably went for 30 or more, or Ant gets to shoot a ton of shots. Nas gets to get some good looks and some experience against really good athletic forwards, guys that he kind of stacked up with in the recruiting rankings. And if they lose, it's like, cool, another L on the old schedule, and you move on and you collect another ping pong ball. Like, there is a win-win situation for Portland in a lot of these matchups.
So the two things, again, we're just going to keep hammering this home because it's the most important things right now. How does Anthony Simons handle different adversity and developments? How does Nasir Little handle different adversity and developments? Like, that's what you want to see, and these you get these opportunities. Unfortunately, Marcus Smart is out because I would love to see Ant go up against Marcus Smart in the same way I wanted to see him up against Kyle Lowry. Obviously, without Lowry, Ant was able to do whatever the hell he wanted against the Miami Heat. Fourth quarter, the entire Heat defense turned it up on basically everybody, and that was a tremendous thing to watch unfold because they did that, obviously, without Lowry and Butler.
Right.
That's what made that so impressive.
Yeah. And now a lot of that was driven by Bam. Like, Bam is kind of the anchor of what that is. You had Jimmy Tuitt, who's a Bulldog, and Kyle is an amazing defender. That's a title team. Right. I don't want to ruin the show plans that you had here for the pre, but I wanted to ask you one question about Boston. Well, you never know. You might have like a graph ready to go for a question.
Wow. Only in post game. Come on.
Well, look, you're a hardworking guy. Let me throw this to you.
Go for it.
Boston's coach is a local. Boston's coach was one that many people, and I'll throw myself in this, would have been very interested and maybe even, dare I say, excited to have in Portland as the head coach of this team. What have you made of Ime Udoka so far? Because it has not been a good start. In fact, a lot of people in our profession, in the media business, specifically the radio, calling for maybe the job already, saying like, this is it. This guy's not good. He can't get anything out of this team. You've got Brown, you got Tatum. That should be enough to get you at least a top 4 seed in the East.
And yet
they've had a lot of struggles. So I'm really just curious your thoughts of a longtime assistant, because everybody talks about Chauncey and the lack of experience. Ime's been in the NBA for a long time and is an assistant under one of the greatest coaches of all time. And it's a really rocky start. What do you make of just Portland not getting him and how you felt about that, and then what you've seen so far against Boston or with Boston?
Not getting him wasn't a surprise because you and I have talked about this, is that Neil had Chauncey. I'll choose Woj language here. He was lasered in on Chauncey Billups in February. We kind of talked about that, behind the scenes. I was like, it's gonna be Chauncey. Like, if this goes the way we all expect it to go, but I'm very much not a coaching doesn't really matter. Like, as far as like, especially when you're a team that's not competing for a title. If you're competing for a title, you want every inch you can get. But
is that your roof?
That sounded like a tree falling right next to me.
Do you want to go check that out real quick, or have your wife check that out?
It's over here, so my house is this way, so we're good to go. But that definitely sounded really close. That came through the mic.
That came through the mic. I was like,
okay.
I thought for a second it was me, and then you looked up, and I'm like, okay, something just hit his house or something.
It was very close. It shook the ground. So, yeah.
Did you have an earthquake over there? Like, we're not very far apart.
No, definitely something fell. That was. That sounds like
God saying, "Don't you dare cross a former Oregonian and Ime Udoka."
Or he's telling me go in. But on the basketball side of things, where trees aren't falling, I definitely just kind of a big shrug. I don't know how much of this is this team doesn't want to be together, and Jayson Tatum is supremely talented, and isn't actually Kobe Jr. like they think he is, or like they've kind of proclaimed, which I hate that whole moniker anyways. But I also am in the same boat with Chauncey that I am with Ime. They got 40 games, man.
Yeah.
Who the hell are they? Like I don't know. What can you tell me? You can tell me the same thing about both coaches. There's not an understanding of where they are because both their teams are kind of in a weird spot. And one thing that we know is that they're willing to call out lack of effort, throw some guys under the bus.
Yep.
So you've got one guy who doesn't have a ton of experience as a coach, obviously in Chauncey, and one guy who has a ton of experience as an assistant. Was it 10 years as an assistant in the league?
Yeah.
And they both kind of went down the same path with how they've responded to the media and how they've responded publicly about their players.
Yeah.
I don't think there's been a ton of differences. But as far as like, I personally wouldn't fire them because I don't think you have a clue one way or the other who's going to want to come in and deal with that mess on either end. And the other side of it is kind of like, did you really expect Boston to win a title right now? Like,
I think they did in Boston, man. I think they looked at, because Danny, it's exactly what you hinted at there. There's this weird belief, and I'm with you. I hated this from the minute it started. There's this idea when Boston got to the East Finals against the LeBron Cavs team. Remember, they got to Game 7, and
then
Tatum had a great series. He had a breakout moment, and he had a dunk on LeBron. Like, ever since that moment, everybody's been, this is the next Kobe. And then there was like, he was friends with Kobe. He looked up to Kobe.
He went to Kobe's camp. He went to the Mamba Academy.
Mentality. I hate when we do that to these players. And I think because of that, there was an expectation that this team, with Brown and Tatum, another year of development, with Marcus Smart out there as a leader, Time Lord's a good athletic center to have. Like, I think there was a belief that Boston would be substantially better than what they have been this year. And what is the natural reaction for that? Point the coach. Instead of maybe looking, is this roster a little flawed?
Yeah.
Portland. It's blame the coach. It's a lazy, easy scapegoat for a lot of people. Blame the coach. It's always the coach. The Lakers were contemplating firing Frank Vogel for assembling a roster of Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, Rajon Rondo, Dwight Howard, DeAndre Jordan, LeBron James in year 20. Like, that's the area we're talking about here. It's Frank Vogel's fault that Anthony Davis is sidelined for 6 to 8 weeks. It's Frank Vogel's fault. So I hate it. I will admit I'm a little surprised Boston's been as rocky as they've been.
Just from a talent standpoint, they should be better than they have been.
Yeah.
They're a 500 team.
That speaks to me more of like, maybe there's a big thing you need to address here more so than freak out and panic to fire Ime Udoka.
Yeah, like if you look at who they've got between, obviously, the Jays. Tatum, 25, 9, and 4. Brown, 24, 7, and 3. What's impressive about this, obviously, is the lack of assists between the two wings. Because what you've basically got is more C.J. McCollum on the wings offensively, where they're tight windowed.
They're zoned into one thing specifically.
Scoring.
Yeah.
That is what they do. They score.
Yep.
They aren't real creators. Now, you've got Marcus Smart, who's kind of shoehorned in there. You know, he's got 5 assists. Dennis Schroeder at about 5 assists. But neither of those guys are real. Smart's the more natural playmaker of all 4 of those guys. But now if you've got Smart out there, you're taking the ball out of the hands of Tatum and Brown. And that's where it gets a little bit dicey. Now, against a team like Portland, where you can just hunt viciously because they don't have an answer for one, let alone both of them, it's fine. And in the regular season, more often than not, that should be the case. Like, there aren't a lot of teams that have 2 wings that can drop 40 on you. Like, that's just not a thing that teams have. But they just kind of, they're not oil and water. Like, Dame and CJ weren't oil and water. But the Jays, they don't complement each other. But because they're both so good, the risk of breaking them up for something else, it's like, it just can't. Because the difference between, obviously, Dame and CJ here is that the Jays had early success. 3 Eastern Conference Finals runs. That's a lot. The Blazers have 1. Mm-hmm. And that was like both those guys in their prime. Tatum's 23. Brown's 25.
I know.
They're not in their primes yet. So it's like almost behooves them to be like, let's get into the primes and then make a decision, you know? Mm-hmm. And if you look at it like a team like Portland trying to match up against them tonight, you're like, we really don't care about this outcome. Like, as far as the Celtics are concerned, as for like how they stack up, they're more worried about how they stack up with the teams that matter in the East.
Well, this is year 4 for them together, right? Brown and Tatum, or is it year 3?
4, because the
right.
joke was always about Jayson Tatum still 19. He's only 19 years old.
I mean, it's unbelievable. He's what, 23? You said
he's 19. 23, yeah.
That's still just 23. I'm like, gee, I feel like he's like an 8-year vet. But
think about this: Jayson Tatum's a year older than Ant.
Which is nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, it really sums it up well. But I think the counter to what you're saying is, I get it. You don't want to lose the potential. There's a Jermaine feel there. Like, if you trade Jaylen.
They've popped, though. That's the thing.
Well, right. But what I was going to say is, I always felt like Jayson, more than Jaylen, has an ability to create and get more people involved than he does. But I think part of and I'm not blaming this man at all, by the way, RIP. I think part of that Kobe stuff, though, is when you start to kind of buy into that, you think it's like, I'm honed in on this thing. I'm that guy that I do this. Where in reality is, you might have some of that, but you're also very skilled in a lot of areas where you could get other guys shots, you could create. Like, I'm just amazed that he hasn't developed that yet. And I know Jaylen is kind of he's a defender. He can get a bucket. He's an okay rebound. Like, he can do some of the other things. Mm-hmm. At what point do you say they're not going to develop that, right? Like, when does the fear leave instead of saying next year they're going to do it? Well, we said that 2 years ago, and then last year happened, and then we said it going into this year, this is the next step, and it continues to show itself. So it's like, it's more about being honest about who these players are and just saying, Jaylen Brown is this guy. He's 20 to 25. He is...
They're 25, 5, and 5. Like, those are real numbers. Like,
those are real numbers, but like, you gotta, at some point, teams have to recognize they're not going to become something that you imagine that they will be.
They need something to grease that offense really and hold them together. And what's funny is, in the fourth quarter, I actually trust Jaylen to make the right decision more than I trust Jaylen or Jayson.
I agree with
which
that.
Which is kind of weird because Tatum's the better player.
Yes.
But they don't fit together. And when we watch tonight, it's going to be kind of hard to kind of absorb that, because the strong likelihood is they are going to give it to Portland because they just don't have the bodies to match. Like, I'm not expecting Robert Covington, who's not that fleet-footed, to stay in front of Jayson Tatum all night. Like, Jayson Tatum's career numbers against Portland, you know what? Again, never works out well when you do this live.
He torches the Blazers.
Oh my God!
Man.
Let me go ahead and pull up the old stat muse. Jayson Tatum points, actually PPG, APG, and RPG career versus Portland. Portland, not Potland. Well, the same.
Should be Potland.
Christ. What would you say his career numbers are? And in 9 games he has played against Portland.
9 games. Points, rebounds, assists. I will say, I'll go in that order. Points, rebounds, assists. I think he is 27, 9, 4.
26, 6, and 4.
Wow. Hey, dude, I was really damn close.
9 games from the time he was 19 till he was 23.
Just giving us buckets.
Just giving Portland the business. And this is on 53% from the field, 61% from 3, and 88%. So not only is he just giving them that work, he is doing it easily.
He's almost a 50, 60, 90 dude in 9 games against Portland. That is unreal.
So it's like, and here, let me pull up Jaylen. I know Jaylen's not as good in those categories because I think he had a stinker or two.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he also was a little bit slower developing. But he's at 16, 6, and 3, shooting 42, 42, 80.
Yeah.
So they haven't had an answer for either of these guys in any shape, matter, or form.
I know he's still really young. I'm a big believer in him, by the way. Like, I'm not going to pretend to be Mr. Draft Guru or anything here. I'm the same guy who said Klay Thompson was a bad pick. Like, I watched him play in college. He scored 9 points against the Beavers. I was like, this guy's going to be great.
I said Jayson Tatum would be in China in 5 years.
I love it. We have some awful
Listen,
picks.
it is that, and there was one other one I had really. It was another Duke player. Who the hell did I miss on?
Duke player. Ingram?
Yes, it was Ingram.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. I said Ingram would be in China in 5 years, and I said Jayson Tatum would be at best a third rate starter in the NBA.
I love that. I love the
takes. I don't trust Duke players. I just can't. I can't do it, man.
Okay, that's fine. I don't blame you for that, but I like Jaylen Brown a lot coming out of Cal, and I loved that pick. I remember telling my producer, I was like, dude, I think Jaylen Brown was a good player. That's a great pick.
Yeah.
I think it's fair to wonder because Jaylen's name's been brought up for Portland fan recently because of where they're at. What's the top end of Jaylen Brown? You said not prime. I would actually push back a little bit on that. I think Jaylen Brown is in his prime. I just don't know how much better the prime can get. Like, what is the ceiling for Jaylen Brown in the right situation? Like, your teammates obviously matter a lot, but I'm almost wondering, what is Jaylen Brown's, what is his prime of prime look like?
I think you have to optimize him. Like, I think if you get a true no BS connector that makes sense, that isn't like a negative floor spacer like Marcus Smart. Like, if we gave this team, I know this is a stretch, like the Suns' Devin Booker treatment where, Chris Paul is just thrown onto this team. Holy shit. Like, yeah, you're taking some possessions away from the Jays, but the possessions that they get are going to be on a platter. Or they're just going to be so loaded up, or they can't load up anything against all three of them, that it would just be unreal. I think that's the problem, is they don't have that connector like they did kind of early on 3 years ago when they had Al Horford kind of still doing Al Horford things. Or 4 years ago, I should say. It was Jay's rookie year. Horford was still very much a big part of the offense, and he kept things popping from side to side, working in the middle of the floor. They do not have that now. Time Lord might be able to get there. He might be able to unlock that. Like, that's what they're, I think, ultimately hoping, is that he can be that rim running, because he's got great hands and he makes good decisions. But does he truly unlock the team? Does he, like, it took Horford a little while to become that.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So, like, could they figure that part of it out? Maybe, because right now I think he's averaging like 2 assists a game, right? Yeah. So he's playing 30 minutes a game. He's getting, 10, 9, 2, and 2. So they basically use him as a rim runner because his field goal percentage is 75%. Doing really good with that.
Lob guy, man. Lob guy.
Just a monster in that regard. But can he turn that rim gravity into playmaking gravity? Like, if we're getting to that level, then I think you will unlock Jaylen Brown. If there's one thing that's missing from his game, it's not playmaking a ton. It's having the additional playmaking. It's honestly, it's a problem that Portland deals with. They have not, like, Nurk's a good connector, but they don't have that other wing playmaker that really makes sense.
Right.
Like, Dame and Nurk pick and rolls are fantastic. Hell, Ant and Nurk pick and rolls are off the charts. I just pulled some second spectrum data that will blow your mind. But they don't have that third guy to make it all come together. And that's where I kind of fall like, where do I find that guy? Where does that make everything come together? And that's like that's the difference between LeBron, Giannis, it's
They fill the voids. Like
Yeah.
what they're lacking, they make up for. Like LeBron is playing the point
That's
guard
those
for
steps
him when he
down.
needs, and then he's playing the center. Like he has that ability.
Yeah. Somebody says our audio's clipping. Guys, I don't know what to tell you. Everything I'm seeing here is no. It's not. It's not you. I can hear it like back and forth. It's a YouTube thing or it's coming through Zoom. That's not something we can control, guys. So that's just kind of how it goes. Unfortunately, with technology, that's not that volume fluctuation. Everything is set. All of the levels are set. Everything comes back and forth. I don't know what's pulling that back or what's pulling it out, and everything's hardline. So I apologize if it's doing that, but that's not us. That's a YouTube thing. So
you're telling me that they have a young, still developing center who's really efficient at the rim. They have a 6'8", hyper athletic scoring wing, and they need a super athletic, efficient scoring guard who can make plays. Is that what you're telling me?
kind of. Don't you dare.
I didn't say anything. I just was asking what you were
dare.
saying.
Don't you dare.
I did it. You just deal with it, okay? You just deal with it.
Joey asked, what's better, Dame Nurk pick and roll or Ant Nurk pick and roll? Dame Nurk pick and roll is one of the best pick and rolls of the past 15 years by a possession basis. It's actually disgusting what they've been able to do. However, in the short span since January 1st, I'll give you a teaser of part of what I'm working on. Second spectrum data for Anthony Simons since the first, his overall effective field goal percentage. I need to add that up and break it out. But I'll tell you this: when they go drop coverage, which is what happens a lot on Dame and Ant Nurk pick and rolls, Ant is currently shooting 65% effective field goal percentage on drop pick and roll coverage. Yeah, no, he is absolutely murdering. Ant is just where he is getting killed right now, and this is something that I'm working on, is teams that switch. And this is a great transition into this. Boston Celtics, what do they do defensively? They switch. You're going to see, and now that's why I wanted to see Marcus Smart tonight, because that would allow them to switch basically everything across the board. You're going to see Grant Williams. You're going to see Time Lord. You're going to see Jayson Tatum. You're going to see Jaylen Brown. All of those guys are going to spend time on Anthony Simons tonight on those pick and roll coverages. How he strings those things out, how he's able to read and react and create for others while also kind of going through it. It's a lot. How different he's going to be able to, or how, I don't say how differently he needs to attack it, how effectively he needs to attack it, not just shooting, but creating for others.
Well, I think I think that's an important thing to watch, because I think he just experienced it. He experienced it in the fourth quarter in the second half when Bam, in those moments, would come over and make that switch. He had a couple possessions where it was a little rocky, but as I mentioned in that post game, I know he missed the shots. I thought eventually he kind of was just like, I can get to the cup with this guy. He just got to finish, and that's a hard thing to do against a guy that's taller and maybe just as athletic as you. But I think you got a taste of it. So now it's, what did you learn from that experience, and how can you apply it if Brown or Tatum get put on you, if Time Lord's on you?
If they're sitting underneath that,
those guys?
yeah, exactly. And that's going to be really interesting, because one of the things I mentioned ahead of that game, going into the Miami game, Ant was 15 of 19 on floaters in the month of January.
He's becoming, well, not to get too far ahead, but like we've mentioned this too, like that is, Tony Parker made a career on that shot.
Yes. And if you are above 45% on floaters, you are a floater god.
Yeah.
Right now he's like 75%. So it is wild how effective he is hitting those right now. Speaking of wild, I was actually surprised by this, Brandon. The lines for tonight, before I put them up, you know what? You can't see them anyways, so it doesn't matter. What do you think the line is tonight?
Well, I hate to spoil this. I know what it is.
Oh, you monster. What
well, one, you effing ruined it because you're on Twitter so goddamn much. But I the number, well, I know we're going to get to the over-under.
Yeah.
Last I saw Boston -8.
Yep.
Yeah.
Portland straight up plus 260, and the over-under tonight, 212.
Well, I know we're both taking the over because Boston might get there by themselves. Yeah. And I'm definitely taking Portland to cover.
Really?
Well, yeah, I've been so wrong about these games that now I'm just going to do what I can to reverse jinx and get the outcome that I actually want. And what I want is Portland to be close, but I want
push
them
the
to
scoring
lose.
over.
Yes,
Sure.
Score the over. Give us the money.
Okay.
But I want Portland to lose. So if I pick Portland,
Hedging
I think
against.
they might lose.
I like it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I used on the new app. I used the same game parlays. So
Isn't that great?
that's a wonderful thing.
Shout out our friends over there for making that transition and saying, look, we tried.
Mwah.
It wasn't as great.
No.
We found a company that knows what they're doing a little better
And
than
you
us.
log in, click, tick, tick, tick.
Well,
It's a little
This-
too easy.
this also could be the start of like a 22-game winning streak for them tonight. It's a real opportunity.
Okay, we're gonna address it. Quickhead, baby, basically the best hook I've ever seen. I hit that bait so bleeping hard.
Did you really?
I mean, I've got notifications on for Quick so that when his articles go up, I
Right.
don't miss them.
Right.
And they could really win 11 in a row. I was like a bass hitting that live bait, man. Just whack! Like, wait, what?
Hey, Quick pulled you out of the water. You're like,
Just that hook was so deep. Just I wasn't getting off that line, man. Not at all. My phone went off at the same time with everybody I know in media screenshotting and saying, "Did you see this?" Everybody did the same thing. So,
got 4
Jayson,
texts.
congratulations. You got every single one of us. There is
did
no.
Jason? Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was saying
sorry.
there's no way in hell they are winning 11 straight. They are not beating the San Antonio Spurs 3 times in a month. That is not happening.
You mean the San Antonio Spurs that waxed Portland by 31 points in the Moda Center? I think either with Dame or CJ playing. Like, that's not happening. I haven't looked into this, and I should have. When was the last time they won 11 games in a row as a franchise, just in general?
Was that 2016 or 17? They reeled off 13.
I mean, okay, so we're going back 6
been like
years.
It's
like,
been a hot minute, but like
come on.
also those teams like they had some magic. Is Jayson expecting like a magical trade to happen? Also, the other part of this is he mentioned Sacramento, San Antonio, New Orleans, which normally I would say those teams are looking to tank.
Danny, tell me what those teams have in common when it comes to Portland.
They've all beat Portland.
Yeah, Sacramento. Twice.
But also, I think all of those teams will be chasing that play-in.
Oh,
I
100%.
I think Sacramento has they have a playoff mandate. They have a playoff mandate. They are chasing that as hard as they can.
New Orleans is currently dealing with Zion unhappiness. Like, if you can get to the play, maybe Zion changes the tune and the feeling a little bit. They're going for it. San Antonio.
They've been out of it
to,
kind of too long. Like, they want to test the waters, see what's up.
Yep.
Portland, they make a few trades, get a few veterans out of here, bring a few veterans that may or may not be currently injured, and all of a sudden you're playing younger guys, and you can see the difference between, well, maybe Trent Watford gets 20 minutes tonight. Those kind of games popping up.
The Brooklyn game, I think, caught a lot of people off guard. It shocked, I think, us.
The Brooklyn game and the Atlanta game got everybody like, win.
Atlanta didn't stun me just because it's like Atlanta's defense is probably the worst in the league. But, like, Brooklyn legitimately shocked me.
Sure.
You got trounced by Denver. You then beat the Wizards, who are not a good team. You beat Orlando, the worst team.
The worst team in the league.
I just don't know how. God bless Jayson. He is a very dear friend for me in the media business. He will text me back every time. I respect that dude a lot. Go Beavs. I don't know how we saw what we've seen so far, and we think this team is capable of winning 11 in a row. I don't care who they play. They can't win 11 in a row.
It was certainly a okay. Definitely struggled with that one, to say the least. It looks like some people are saying that we're buffering. I don't know what's going on with YouTube's.
Oh my God. Is it me?
No, it's us in general. It's very strange because it's telling me I'm not dropping any frames at all. So
is it the tree branch hit a cord or something?
I don't
House?
know. It's a 0% drop frames. So if it's still doing that, I'm sorry guys, but we are going to get out of here right now anyways. I'll pull the hood off this thing and see if there's anything going on behind the scenes with YouTube. But we do have a watch party. I will have the link up here shortly, and then we'll see you all in there. like, rate, review, subscribe. Help us grow the show. We are almost at 2,500 subscribers. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show. Help us grow. We will catch you guys here for the watch party here in just a second. I will post that in the community link. I'll post it on, not the link on Twitter because it's still private. And then we will have you guys for the postgame show. And again, Sunday show, Jamie Hudson, Hud Dog, in the postgame, trying to lock in hold all. We're going to get him game day, or we'll get him when they come home. They have the back-to-back, and then they have a day off, and we'll get him before then. And so, yeah, we lots of cool stuff coming up. Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you off the app. Sorry.
Oh, okay, that's fine. You can catch us on social, at Jacked Ramsays, at Danny Marang, at Brandon Sprague. Like, rate, review, subscribe, do all of the things. We'll catch you here for the watch party and then for the post